hiding the video preview. Yeah. Okay, I think we're all right. Okay, let's start. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live development stream. At the moment, I'm showing you the very latest UI on the Planet stream of Soul Trader. So it's all looking pretty good. Kind of happy with how it's going. So basically, what you can do now is you can go to a particular planet. This is your character. Ooh, that eye is in the wrong place. I only just noticed that. Let me just take a screenshot of that. So that's my artist. We haven't quite got that one right. Yeah, so anyway, we've done a lot of stuff on face generation recently. It's all been very good. Kind of enjoyed doing that work. It's been a lot of fun. And now I'm kind of moving on to the conversation work, which is pretty critical to the game. I'm happy enough with how it's coded, but it still needs a lot more work. Right. Let me just add this to add a card here. Now, I'll show you this actually because it's quite interesting. All the different stuff that we want to do. Male face issue. And actually, let's put that at the top. The eye is the bionic eye is too high. Okay, oh, and see attachment. So we're using Trello for all of the kind of communication between the artist and me, which works really well actually. I'm happy with how that's going. Let's just grab that screenshot. Make sure it's the right one. Yeah, there we go. That's worked. So I can just close that, and I know that you'll get to that at some point. Okay, so this is where we're up to. We have, as you've probably seen before, if you've been following these live streams, we have a bunch of different people that we know. We're Marshall. We can now rename ourselves, so we can call ourselves Chuck or something else if we want to. So we've got, these are our fathers or whatever. Dane is our father. It's kind of interesting. Let's call him Dad instead of Dane. There we go. Dad, Brisbane. Right, but he's our dad. He's a manager. He's at home, which I guess is here in Apollonia City on the moon. Then we have our mum. The purple means that we're close to them. That means that we know them well, really, really well, in fact. So that must mean that we have a high charm, yes. So we've got lots of very close friends, 4 in fact, we're very, very close to. Then we've got a few other personal friends who are closer but not as close. In fact, our granddad we were very close to, but he sadly died, which is a bit of a shame. I guess he's died recently. Let's have a look. 6 years ago. That's not that recent. I guess that we were pretty close to him. For him to still consider ourselves really close to him. But anyway, let's just go back to Chuck. Okay, so here we have Kelly. Also, we were very close to our grandmother. Interesting. Maybe we were raised by them or something. Then we have our uncle, who's a crime boss. Interesting. And another grandfather. Oh, family boy, clearly. And then we've got a few other, these are more kind of friends. Our brother, our uncle, and our grandmother. So it's all about our, interestingly, all about our family. That might be a bug. We may not have had an opportunity to make as many friends as I want to. We probably need more opportunity to make friends. So I'm going to make a note of that. Because at the moment there isn't really enough basic friendships in the game. And it could be that people just need more opportunity. Okay. Cool. So anyway, what I'm not working on that at the moment. That's all worked fine. What I'm more interested in is going to, for example, the Moon Planetary Council. So if I was to, it's not going to work. Oh, is it shut? It's 7 AM. Ah, it's closed. Okay, so the Moon Starfleet HQ, I guess, or somewhere else. It isn't shut. Maybe a spaceport. No, there's no one there. So it is first thing in the morning. The prison? No, there's no one there either. So I need to kind of figure this stuff out. At the moment, there probably aren't enough characters in the game. We need to have a proper game with only 20 per city. So let's restart the game and let's have a few more characters per game so that we can actually see some of these places populated. Let's go for 50. I think that'd be more interesting. Okay. Ah, hey, Jamie, nice to see you. Thanks for popping in. Great to hear you. Great to hear from you, I should say. Okay, so we're building up this, so hopefully we should be in good shape. Right. Huge lag on the screen, only see updates every few seconds. Yeah, that could be yours. It could be just my computer not being able to get the frames out. It could be Twitch. It looks like we're okay at the moment, broadcasting to Twitch. So, if anyone else having issues, that would be good to know. Is the audio okay? That's the main thing. Okay, so let's just keep going through this list. So Sunny Byers is our new character. So let's see. Now, does he have actually any friends? His brother, his uncle, his mother, his uncle, his uncle, his uncle, his aunt, his brother, his niece, his father, his uncle, his friend. Like 3 or 4 friends. Still not very many. It's still all family oriented. I may have to screw around with that a little bit. Anyway. Right, so moving on. So we've got the interplanetary setup of the old Federation. Oh yeah, that's great. I don't know what's going on with the video. It could just be very slow today. I've tried to shut everything else on my screen, but I think I'm broadcasting to Twitch fine at 20 frames a second, which isn't amazing, but it's better than nothing. Right, so here we go. So we've got, our uncle works at the Senate. That's good to know. And Jordan Galley's at the front desk. Right, so this guy, we want to be able to talk to him. So at the moment, what I've been working on right now is changing this text. So these are the things you can say. You can be impressive, flirtatious, even. Probably not with him, but we'll figure that out. Obliging, that kind of thing. And then you can choose a particular subject to talk about. So you choose both a tone, you can basically choose the tone in which you are speaking and also a subject to talk about. Now this is all placeholder, this is just for prototyping. What I want to do is actually start adding some responses and some subjects that you can choose. So first thing I want to do, I'll just jump back to the code for a minute, is basically change the way that this works. So at the moment what we do is we start off with the momentarily lost for words string. And we're going through all of the different conversation statements, of which there are 0 at the moment, and basically saying if there's a match, then we will display that string instead. So a conversation statement, match statement itself, let's just find out where that is. It just returns 0, so there's never a match. So at the moment there's none anyway, so this entire thing will be skipped. So that's fine, but there's definitely a need to do something else there. So basically what I want to do to start with is I want to basically say, if you can talk to them, if they know you well, then they should probably greet you very warmly. If they know you a little bit, they should greet you less warmly. And if they don't know you at all, it's kind of a, hello, how can I help sort of thing if they're on the front desk. So I think we should start with that. That would be a good starting point. Which means that we need some conversation statements. Now, a conversation statement has absolutely nothing in it at the moment, but basically we need a set of prerequisites for this. So I'm thinking, I need to think about this quite carefully as to what we want to do here. Basically, this is only for people who are making inquiries. So the things we want to be able to do, so prerequisites, can I spell prerequisites? Yes, I can. So these are some of the types of prerequisites that we might want for a particular statement to be valid. Inquiry, initiated inquiry, which basically means that he's at the front desk and I've clicked on chat. That's different to going to see my uncle who happens to be a senator. So I know this guy anyway. He's my uncle, and he and I are pretty close. So I'd be able to get information out of this guy, and I know quite a lot about him already, which is quite useful. So I guess what I'm trying to get to is that there may be a case where we've initiated an inquiry. There may be a case where we haven't initiated an inquiry, and we're just chatting to someone. So that really depends on what the speaker is doing. And that could be inquiries, that could be socializing, that could be working, or guest, I think is what it is. So that's one thing. The second thing is how well the speaker knows the listener. Okay, so that's another type of prerequisite that we could have. Now, I don't have lots of these. I've got like 1,000 conversation statements, I think. So I could easily do something like, where does the activity come from? Is that a hash? Yes, it is. So I could say activity hash. I could say, let's think. Okay, privacy, minimum closeness. Yeah, that's good. So we have basically, these are the kind of rules we want to stay. And we also want to stay string hash, conversation statement hash, something like that. So we can start with that, which isn't terrible. It's not amazing, but it's a good start. So let's see. I should probably call that required activity hash, I think. That would be better. Okay. Right. Let's see. So we've got the minimum closeness, conversation statement hash, and then we've got potentially, that's probably enough. So these are let's call these prerequisites. And that's kind of the result. Hash. Yeah, I don't even say that. Result is. Okay, there'll be others of these, but that's a good starting point. Right. So once we've got that, we basically need to do two things. We need to fill in those conversation statements. I'm going to do that via a CSV, which we'll do in a minute. And the other thing we need to do is we need to write the matching code, which shouldn't be too hard. So let's start with the conversation statement, or we could actually start with matching code. That's reasonably easy to do. We can't actually test it yet, but we can say something like if, well, we can assert the statement is true. We don't need to do that. If statement required activity hash, which means we're requiring an activity, then we can say something like it's whether or not the speaker activity hash. There's a difference there. And then we've got speakers, and now the speaker doesn't have an activity hash. The AI has an activity hash. Now this is going to be interesting. Basically, we don't have all of the information we need inside the human anymore. We've actually got an AI. We'll find it. What human AI? Yes, there it is. Right. So we need to get the AI from human. Now this is interesting because it means that we're going to need an AI. Right. So So we're assuming that the speaker at this point has an AI, which is quite interesting. Now, that may not always be the case. If the player is trying to speak to if the player is trying to speak to an AI person, then they won't have an AI. However, to know what the person is supposed to be doing there, we need an AI. So if there is no AI, then they simply cannot be saying it. So actually, what I can do is I can simply say, get the AI for get the AI for a particular speaker. If there's an AI, or rather, if speaker AI index is not 0, then we might even consider this thing. So okay, let's organize this method. So the result is false. Then we return, or we can say string hash result equals 0. And then we could say something like let's think about this. Return. So just early exit there. If speaker AI index, then we need to say something like get the AI activity hash. Ooh, is that activity index or activity hash? Interesting. Depends on the AI. So each of the AI objects holds an activity index, right? So then we have an activity index, and the activity index comes from the activities. So how is that done? It's amazing. I wrote this code like a week ago and totally forgotten how it works. Right, so state also has activities. Activity right. Just do that. Yeah. Grab the AI, grab the activities index. Quite a lot of lookups, but this doesn't happen every frame, so I'm happy enough about this. Then what I want to do is say something like if activity hash equals statement although we don't return basically. So if it's not, then we return. And actually we could, if we're going to do it this way around, we could just return those round. Turn those round, not return those round. So then we fall through. If we have a required speaker activity index, we don't have AI to return. If we haven't got the right activity hash, we also return. However, now we're on to the next thing. So in this case, we've got the other type of thing that we were looking at, which was in minimum closeness. So if the statement has a minimum closeness, now this is just me slamming some code in to make this work. I'm definitely going to refactor this, work through it, make sure that it's neat later, but this is not the time to do that. Just want to get it working and test it, and just feel around with it and see how I'm feeling, and then we'll work out exactly what we actually want to do. So right, statement is minimum closeness. So if there's a minimum closeness, we need to get the relationship closest between these two people, the speaker and the listener. Now, I don't remember how to do that either, so I'm going to have to look up closeness. Let's see. So that will be relationship closeness. And I want this to be info privacy closeness equals relationship closeness between under the state history. No, that I'm not even passing state. I'll have to do that in a minute. And then I also want the speaker and the listener. I'll get indexes for this to work. Okay, now if statement minimum closeness is greater than closeness return, easy. Now then what I want to do is basically say if I've managed to avoid returning from all of that, then I can return the statement forgotten what it was called now. Statement hash? I don't know. Let's find it. Oh, this computer is slow when it's streaming. Let's see. Conversation statement hash. That one. Great. Actually, I don't need that result now. Cool, so what I've got here is two predicates, require speaker activity and minimum closeness. That should all still compile fine, apart from the fact that I'm not passing state through, which we'll need to do. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, slow. Why so slow? Oh, it's the streamer. Just doing a bunch of stuff. Probably because it's down sampling. There's probably ways of me screwing around with that, but I'm not going to do it while I'm online. Right. I think it might be quicker if it's simply just stream at 1080p. At the moment I'm downsampling to 720p for bandwidth reasons, but actually I think that's just killing my CPU, which is a problem. I think that the speed is actually okay. Right, here we go, match statement. Where's that call from? Let's see, it's just called here. Yes, and it's just passing the state. Let's run that again. So at the moment this won't do anything. We'll still have momentary loss for those. Oh, is it running again? Oh, I wonder it's so slow. Unfortunately on this laptop I can't just keep this stuff going. Return 0, return 0, return 0. Great. Now it's a lot quicker, isn't it? Okay, so this shouldn't make any difference, so actually let's not bother testing it yet because we don't know what's going to happen yet. At least it compiles, which we haven't made any stupid compilation errors, so that's fine. So now what we need to do is actually create those that CSV file. So if we go into data, let's call it conversations.csv. Now to start with, we'll just say required speaker activity. So we're just going to add the three things that we know about. Activity. And then we also want to say something like minimum closeness. And then we can have our string. So the first one is going to be something like require speaker activity. Now the speaker activity I'm going to have to remind myself about. So in the role CSV. Yes. So inquiries. So if we have anything in inquiries, that means we're not going to say it. That means this string isn't eligible unless we are saying something, if that makes sense. So minimum closeness, well, let's do personal, and then we can say string is, say, inquiries close. Let's call it that. Cool. So then what I need is to have a string, which is something like say inquiries close. And actually I'm going to put say in front of all of these. So let me just change the chat controller as well. Lost for words, because I want to be able to find them easily. I don't necessarily want them all in this file. We've already got 400 strings. We're going to need a separate file for conversations, I think. Hey first name. Great to see you here. Pretty cheesy, but we'll start with that. Then we can say social. Such a pleasure to see you. So let's start with that. We can just say inquiries known. How are you? So a bit more formal. So this is when we know them a bit. So social. And then we have one where we are just doing nothing, so inquiries of the stranger. So I hope this makes sense. What I'm doing is I'm just triggering the data. So basically to say, if they're making an inquiry, if I'm doing on inquiries duty, that means someone's talked to me whilst I'm handling inquiries. This is to do with, but I also have the minimum closeness of personal. So I'm going to add greeting to this. Then I'm going to greet them very warmly. If I don't know them very well at all, then I'm going to say something quite different. Inquiry of stranger, which is going to be something like, hello, how can I help? Okay, so that's all very well, but I actually need to import these into, let's just sort that. Oops, sort. There we go. So I should have all the saves in the middle there. Yeah. Okay. So that's a good starting point. Now I need to import these. I need to import this new conversations file. Now that's reasonably easy to do, thankfully. In here somewhere, probably in the game controller actually, we actually just import all of the files with a blob data file, which isn't brilliant, but it's a starting point. So these are all the data files. We can simply say conversations.csv there, and then we need to in blob data, we just need to add in a new blob, which is the conversations data. We do need a better way of doing this, but I just haven't got around to it. And then we have data. These are all the data-y things that we're doing, and then when we are importing faces, I suppose, let's just do a different one. Okay, so we're basically going to say we're going to do conversation store, and we're simply going to say conversations data. What I'm doing here is I'm just loading the strings in from the CSV, and then I need to say initialize display strings. This needs to be initialize or load conversations from the conversation store. Cool, and then in order to load from the conversations from the conversation store, what I have to do is just basically copy the way that we do this. Pretty much exactly the same as this. So load conversations, we take a state, we take a string store, and then we do memory arena. It's just static data, so that's fine. Let's just copy the same thing from above. It will obviously be conversations store string count. So now basically this loops through every line in this CSV, and then we need to basically grab the particular row we're interested in, which is this one. Then we need to just do some fields, which just creates a few kind of field things, some strings that we can actually put the various columns in, or cells, and then we can just do that exactly like that. So that just tokenizes it into splits it by comma, and we can assert at the moment that our field count is 3. Okay, so now we need to say conversation statement equals push struct, so we'll add it to the arena, conversation statement, and then we can assert, let's do that. So now we need to think about what we're going to do with these. So the statement required speaker activity hash is just a CSV, or it's just a sole hash of fields 0, which is easy because basically we just hash up this file, and that gives us the hash of the activity. Now the privacy is a bit different. I think somewhere we have a CSV privacy. Yes, we do. So where is that used? Yeah, we just do it just like that. So basically what that does is we can say statement So is minimum closeness. So privacy and closeness are interchangeable in the engine. Basically, it's a number from it's intimate, public, social, personal, inner. So basically, the idea is that it's a kind of level of disclosure almost. So we use it both for measuring how close two people are and also how private data is. So yeah, okay. So that's I think those two, and then the last one is just statement conversation string statement hash equals, and that again will just simply be a sole hash of fields 2, and obviously that's fields 1. Okay, that's it. So now once I've done that, then I can simply say state conversation statement, or I think it's just called statements actually. State conversation count. Let me just look that up. Plus equals statement. I also need to assert that state conversation count is less than array count state statements in case we don't want overruns. Okay, so let's have a look. Did I call it conversations? I just call it statement count. Statement count. That's it. Same again now. Great. So now that should load in these 3 conversations just fine. So once we build that, let's just make sure that that's doing it. No match for relationship closeness. That's because we actually need to pass in the real humans, not just the indexes. Well, I think the first human needs to be a real person. Okay, let's have a look. Yes, I did in statements. Yeah. Did I do the same thing? No, it's the same thing. It's all fine. Okay, anything else? No? Great. So that compiles. Obviously that's not enough. So let's just switch back to Xcode and just try this stuff out. So I'm just gonna zoom through that one. The other one I want to zoom through is the conversations. Oh yeah, no, not that one. I'm more interested in the other one. I may not have it in the... Yeah, I just need to add this file. I just added the new conversations file just a minute ago, so I will need to add that one. And then I should be able to load it. There we are. Okay, so let's just have a look at that too. Right, let's run the game. Okay, so first we should be getting in. Assert field count is 2. Interesting. Oh, that is because it's the O high there. So at the moment, to my real annoyance, or not annoyance, I suppose it's my own fault, you can't have commas. You can't do that. I am going to need to have the ability to add comments, but at the moment you can't have them. Kind of annoying. I'm working around it. It's fine for the moment. Right. Okay, so now we can look through loading conversations. So, so we should be able to get the string fine through there. Okay, so let's have a look at the fields. We're going through the first index, not the second one. So inquiries, personal say inquiries, so that's fine. So the required speaker activity hash will just be that. Privacy on minimum closeness. Let's have a look at that statement. Minimum closeness, privacy, personal. I think that's right. Yes, it is. And the other one is just a hash. Yeah, that looks like I've got that generally right. Get rid of that. Run the game. Yeah, I think it's happy with that. That's good. So let's actually go into. Ooh, that's an old breakpoint. Don't need that one. Go. Okay, another old breakpoint, I think. Let's keep going. Yep, another old breakpoint. Okay. Right, so let's just scoot through the generation process. Here we are. Right, so in theory, when I click chat, Right, now we check to see whether or not we can save a thing. So, does it have a required speaker activity hash? Yes, it does. We do have AI. We do have the activity. What activity are we doing? I think we're doing inquiries. There's the hash. Great, so yeah, we're doing inquiries, so that's correct. Now, is there a minimum closeness? Yes, there is. What closeness level am I at? Public. Right. So between the speaker and the listener, so the listener is me, I'm 704, and the speaker is 609. He considers me to be an acquaintance. I don't know him that well, which means that he is probably going to return 0 for this particular thing. Okay, let's just stuff in a bunch of these, and then we can always look to see. Yeah, again. And this time, the last one, this last statement, is when we don't have a privacy, and so we're happy with that because then the conversation statement hash will be returned. So it should be, hello, how can I help you? Now, this is a bit interesting. Because he's my great uncle, I don't actually have a relationship with him, but he is a relative. So this is a bit tricky. It is possible for you to fall out with your relatives. This is the sort of thing. This sort of thing does happen, which is really annoying. But yeah, it is something that does happen. So what we need to figure out is why that is, basically. It's kind of annoying that way. I did make it so that you could fall out of touch with certain people, like friends you haven't seen for a long time, and this guy is one of the guys who you have fallen out of touch with. I don't think you're on his list at all. No, he doesn't know. He doesn't consider himself knowing you, which is a bit harsh, really. You don't know him very well. This is us. He's not really on our list. But if he's our great uncle, then we should have a better conversation option to than hello, how can I help you? Which is super annoying. Right. Think. Yeah, this is correct. I mean, the code that I've written is fine. It's working just fine. The problem is that he's forgotten about us. The only reason we know about the fact that he's our great uncle is because it records and remembers all of the relations, just in case you lose touch with them. Otherwise, it's a bit weird that you totally forget. Now, maybe I need to do that with that minimum closeness stuff. Okay. Maybe I need this minimum closeness to actually check this stuff. Right, so the moment we're just saying, simply looking at the relationships for, yeah, that's not necessarily sufficient. I'm thinking, basically, the first index privacy, yeah. So basically, the problem that we have is that it just goes through all of our friends lists. But your minimum that's not sufficient for a conversation, just relationship closeness, because even if you have any sort of relationship with them at all, even just a kind of a relative, like a family relative relationship, they shouldn't respond to you as if you're a stranger, which is what's happening at the moment. So I'm going to have to think about how I do this quite carefully. How do I do it with relationship with? Because a relationship with does the right thing. With this one. It checks your friends and your enemies to see if you've got a relationship with them. But the other thing it checks, so new relationships does also have this parent-child thing. So where's that used? Only in a few places. It's used when determining a relative relationship. Yeah. And it's added to. It's very simple. So all it does is it just has those basic records. So does that mean I'm going to have to do, in order to do a relationship closeness, it's down to whether or not you recognise them at all. So the way that you might recognise them is through a relative relationship check. The problem with the relative relationship check is it's expensive. But you know, this is conversation stuff, it should be okay. Okay, so what I need to do is when I'm checking a minimum closeness for the purposes of the conversation, I'm going to need to say, okay, check the relative relationship. If the relative relationship is if the relative relationship exists in any form, so they're not just complete stranger, then they have a public relationship with them. Otherwise, there's literally nothing. So if we go back to the closeness stuff, it starts as public. What about the case where they don't have a relationship with them at all? So the problem is I'm not modelling. I'm modelling a public relationship, social relationships. Public is just like people you've met once. But there's a difference. There's something. This kind of handling inquiries stuff that I'm working on for the conversations. If you see someone you've never met before, you have a different level of relationship with them than just public. That's the problem. It's like you don't know them at all, which we just haven't considered yet. That's really no privacy at all. That's different to public. So if I get a public back from the minimum closeness, right? So what I'm thinking about I'm going to do is if I get, let's go back to the CSV. If I get some kind of public relationship, it's a known person, but if I get nothing, it's a stranger. So therefore, here, the relationship closeness is fine. If closeness is public, is public, I think it's privacy public, yeah. Then I just need to make sure that I don't know them. Make sure I don't recognize them at all. So in here, Need to really think about this. The closeness is privacy public, so that means that I don't know them very well at all. It's possible that I don't know them at all. It just depends. So I need to check. But the question is this the right abstraction anyway? This is what I'm worried about. When we do a relationship check, at the moment it's just public. And relationship closeness is used everywhere. I think it is only in this case, because relationship closeness will be public if you've just met them. The question is have you ever known them? Which we don't normally answer. We don't normally have to answer the question, have you ever known them? Normally it's just do you know them now well enough to say hello? I'm just wondering whether or not I change all of the way that this works, or whether I just make this work for conversations. Let me just have a look at where I call relationship closeness. Oh, everywhere. So I call it here to find out that's all GUI. I use it here to make sure that only close friends. I use it there to check about bereavement. I use it here again to check whether or not we tell someone about our new profession. So that's all fine. It's really only the case of relationships that are not public relationships that have never existed. Do we differentiate between? There we are, look. We drop them down to public. There's a chance they become our enemies. Yeah, that's fine. So, do we need to differentiate between people we've never met? Yes, I think we do. Let's just do this. Let's just get it done. Which means that this needs to say something like stranger. Now let's have a look at all the places that we use privacy public. Okay, I'm just about to fix this one. Closeness is privacy stranger. It's basically down here, isn't it? Oh no, see, the problem is in this case, they have to be public. Right, so in this case, because we're checking a relationship between two people, this case, they have to have a relationship. The relationship is always public. In this case, they may not have one. So in this case, we actually want to do relative relationship. Yeah, so we need to do something like this to check the relative relationship between the two. If we get a stranger back, then we basically just want to say, have we ever met them before? And make sure that we haven't screwed this up. So basically, we just want to make sure that they're not in our list somewhere. So the relative relationship is a really expensive call, but what it does is it result status, relationship status, result status. So basically what this does is it just checks to see if there's any relationship between us and them, like are we a friend of a friend, have we ever met before basically. It's expensive, but it won't happen, well it might happen a lot now. Yeah, but that's okay, I think I'm happy with this, I'll have to see how it goes. So if they are a stranger, we call the relative relationship between the two. Yes, that's what we do. And then we say If there's any count at all, then result is privacy public. Yeah, that's it. I think that's it. So we basically do a search to see whether or not we've known them at any point. Yes. Now, how does that affect things? This means that this will work because if I have a stranger or up, I'll now get that from the relationship closeness method thing. Yes. But they shouldn't be lost for words after this. Right. Okay, so I'm just going to assert hash. I'm not going to have the lost for words for the moment. I'm just going to do that. Because I want to make sure that this should always return stranger at least. That also means that info privacy is wrong. We need to have another one here, which is stranger, and also here, so that we can read it. So now there's an interesting interplay between public and stranger. Stranger is someone you just don't recognize. Okay, no matching call, human32, dissolve human. Does this one need to be a human? This one needs to be an actual target. So let's do new. Can't use an index, so we're going to need to grab it from there. Let's just do that quickly. So public is someone who's famous. Potentially you can be famous and still have a public relationship, because if you turn up with someone who's famous and who's recognizable, everyone's going to be your friend, everyone's going to know you. So that should still work. Okay, so yeah, that compiled fine. So now let's see what happens here. Those breakpoints in the right places? Yes, they are. Okay, so let's just go and see that guy again. See how that looks. Oh, no living people, great. That's slightly worrying. Let's try again with slightly more people. So this stranger stuff looks like it's changed the random seed, which potentially has meant everyone is dying. Oh man. This is the problem with going down a rat hole. We have not got enough people being generated. Oh, this is frustrating. Everyone's died. That means no one, hang on, no one's being born. So that means that no one is ever meeting. That's what's happened. So this privacy stranger stuff has screwed up my relationship closeness stuff. So that must mean that this privacy public thing, basically I was returning privacy public from relationship closeness, and now I'm returning, let's just quit the game so the laptop speeds up. Yeah, I was returning privacy public, and now I'm not. I'm returning privacy stranger in certain cases. So there must be, that must have done something. Human dead, breathed, and closeness is greater than privacy public. That's fine. Max privacy public. Do the characters get to find out? That's actually privacy stranger now. Like this one. If event is not privacy public and it's not privacy social, what's this all about? Well, that should probably just be less than or equal to privacy social. That should still work. Right, start relationship. Yeah, a public relationship we start with. If new closeness is privacy public. Yep, that's fine. Yes, because those are at index, that's always going to be public. Ah, look, if rail status is spouse and human closeness and target closeness are privacy public, yeah. So that basically means that we're divorcing two people. So that should actually not be less, it should be less than or equal to. Okay, that's fine. What about here? Add life option. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. First index for privacy. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, we changed that one. Right, so my question is now, why aren't people seeing each other? Can see each other. Okay, this is the check to see whether or not people are actually getting married. I should probably just have another quick look at the generation stats. Let's see. So no marriages, there's some romances. So the romances are happening, the friendships are happening. But it's just like, it could just be that people aren't getting married. Let's just double check that by putting a breakpoint in there. New history. 9757. Is that the right file? Thought I did that right. There we are. Right, is this happening? Let's see. No. This is not happening. Well, that will be why there are no babies. Relationship closeness. Relationship closeness. So it could be something to do with the way that this is working. So we've got a human and a target closeness. So let's just have a quick step through here to find out what's going on. So this is the thing I've just changed. So we go through privacy stranger. We basically check to see whether the relationship is the relationship target. So we found the right target, and now we need to look at, based on the index, which is 0, what's the closeness? So the answer is it'll be something like 0. And it doesn't really matter. Ooh, interesting. It's saying they're a stranger. That doesn't sound right to me. If the index is 0, that doesn't sound right at all. Just break it and make sure I haven't totally screwed this up. Right, so the index is 0. Now, if the index is 0, right, so now we're going through and we start with 0. And first index for privacy is going to be, it's stranger, isn't it? No, I've screwed this up. So that means that, yeah, okay, that's the bug. So what's going on here is that the relationship closeness code is broken because we start off at the first privacy index, which is public, and we head to first index for privacy. So we're basically saying so we start with public, I think. Let's just make sure we've got that right too. We start with public. We were starting with public, and we're basically saying if, yeah, that's right. If the index, which was 0, is greater than or equal to the first index for the privacy, which is basically plus equal charm times 2, so that's 14. Yes, this is a fall through. This is a deliberate fall through. That should be the answer. What's happening is that basically the way that it was working was that it was adding up everything in turn for which index we should be at. And I don't actually need the stranger and the public thing to be any different. Okay, let's try again. Hopefully we should actually see some people getting married and having babies now. Let's see. That does look a bit better. Looks like people are actually being born now. Still not as many as I was hoping. But I need to figure that out. Yeah, there we go. Clayton Broom. Okay, here we go. That's us. Clayton Broom. It's quite an author name, really, isn't it? Right, so visit. This is our friend's mother. We can't speak to her. We can speak to this woman at the front desk. Right, so this is now saying that the minimum closeness is no good because our closeness is public. Oh, that's interesting. So I'll just zoom through this again. Let's just go through this relationship closeness code and see whether or not I've screwed it up. So this time we need to go basically see which of these we get to first. Right, so we didn't find a relationship for them. But this is saying that we did find, let's see. Ooh. Yeah, no, that's not right. That is -1, which means that those are all broken, yeah. Okay, so count 0 is not the right answer. So let's have a look at what this should be. Relative relationship. And the answer is return a unit 32. It's max unit 32. Yeah, I did know that. It's not 0. Of course, it can't be 0. Because 0 would be a correct value. Yeah, so conversations, relationship closeness, which means that this is not 0 if the count is not equal to max unit 32, which means that we have some. Oh, yes, we have something. Then we should be able to display the right bit of conversation. This went a lot deeper than I was expecting, I have to say. I was not expecting it to go this deep. Okay. Right. Yeah, so now we're just going through this. Okay, so let's just see what happens when it does. Hit that. Right, so we do have a relative relationship here. So that must mean that this person was a stranger. However, let's just check. Yes, 8. So they have a relationship status of 8. So they were a stranger, but they once knew them as a friend. Yes. Right, so that means if they are listed as a stranger, once knew them as a friend, that means that they are an enemy, which is quite helpful. So we get the old format. So stranger is only used for people we have never met, and that's quite important. Okay, let's just watch that go through. Okay, let's just go through here. Okay, so here we are, there's Clayton. Let's see if we can see a few people here. So we've got Vivian Killick. We do not, well, we're just checking the closeness on that one. So the closeness is stranger. So we've never met her, so that's fine. So I'm happy with that. And then eventually the returner. Hello, how can I help you? And that should be the same for Laurie. And probably the same for him, yeah. So we know him. So let's try and find someone we do already know that we can actually speak to. These buildings are looking a bit empty, aren't they? I need to fill them up. We can't talk to our cousin. Yeah, he doesn't want to talk to us, obviously. He's not that close to us. Tommy Leonard. Is he in our list? No. Can't just barge in on him when he's working. Fair enough. That's Clayton. It's me. London prison. Nope. No one's there. Vinitel. What about Vinitel? No. Must be someone around. Rubitel. Yes, here we go. Your friend's brother. Yeah, I've got some overwrites happening there. That's not good. Right, so I can't just interrupt him while he's working. Yeah, that would be rude. So basically, it only gives you the people that you can actually interrupt. So none of those guys are valid. Moonjag, friends, can't interrupt him either. Let's see. These places are shut until midday. These guys are not open yet. It's kind of, in some ways, anyone you've got some sort of relationship with, you should be able to say hello to. They're like an outside contact, but we just don't have a record of knowing them, if that makes sense. So these are all our actual friends. Yeah, none of them are on planet, unfortunately. Doesn't look like. What about? Yeah, actually, this will tell us. Are any of them in London? She's in Tokyo. Tammy, my girlfriend, works in Tokyo. He's an Iron. Yeah, most of my family could be from Io. Interestingly, is that where I was born? Possibly. Junior moved over. Where's my dad? Oh, he died. There he is. Died 7 years ago. It's rather sad. Moved over to London and then died. Well, I could move back there, I suppose, but unfortunately not at the moment. Which means that I can't actually go and see someone that I know. Let's see. Basically, I need to regenerate with more people. It's a bit slower, but I can do it. I'm aware that I'm over time. Never mind. Quite like to just see if I can at least make this little piece work after that real deep dive into relational closeness and that kind of thing. Almost there. Wow, it's super slow now. That relative relationships thing is killing it. Wow. Needs optimization, I think. I think it's that relative relationship thing going on. Again, I don't have anyone around. It could be that these guys just haven't started working yet, but he's a senator, he should be the Senate. Surely. Aha, here we go. My dad, the senator. And Ahmed, who I think is a friend as well. Oh no, it's just because he's a security guard. So he is guarding, so he won't have anything to say, which means it's going to crash. Yes, that's right. Okay, so I just clicked on the security guard, which means that my conversations didn't include an option for him to say anything. So this guy is guarding. If we know them a little bit, I can have a guarding thing, which is just like known. He's not going to say very much, to be honest, but he's guarding. And this guy is going to be a stranger. Now there's another few things that people can do, which I need to just double check. We've got desk as well, which is going to be desk. This is going to be personal. And that's going to be, it can't be stranger because I don't actually know anyone. So this is going to be desk known, desk stranger. Right, so now I just need to go to strings, add those in. So I need to do say, greeting, anything, okay. Right, so say greeting the guarding name. I'm going to say something like something like that. And then we've got guardian stranger. Right, so I'm just basically trying to figure out some of the stuff. Desk, close, this is a welcome surprise. And then we've also got desk known. This is the guy who is working but knows you a little bit. Okay, so that's all of the kind of basic inquiries. So now we can basically say the different things if people are working and that kind of thing. So that's cool. So based on that, I can close this one. In order to get that, I need a full run. Driven home. Okay, 50. Takes forever to run, which makes it super annoying. But we can give it a go. So basically, I'm just running quite a hefty city population run just because it needs to figure out, make sure I've got enough kind of stuff going on really. So there are enough people around. I think my father in this particular random city is a senator, so it's a good person to be able to use to figure out, yeah, this is the right one, whether I've got the relationship conversation stuff correct. Okay. Let's see, so hopefully, yay, so I've got, hello, how can I help you today? And then I should have, this is a welcome surprise, yes, brilliant. Security guard is, hello, something to report, fantastic, right. So now we've got three different chat messages. We've got Courtney Dukes at the front desk, that's Courtney. He is just working, he's presumably a political assistant, so he's at the front desk, so he's going to say that to you. Then if you talk to your father, you get this is a welcome surprise. Yeah, this is a problem because it's not clear who you're talking to, so I might have to change that, might have to put their face up here or something, but that's not difficult to do. And then if you chat to a security guard, you get something to report. Brilliant. So that is all working, so I'm going to check that in and call it a day. Okay, so we've got new strings, yeah. That's just because I sorted. Yeah. Not that. So then we loaded the conversations in. We've got the stranger stuff that we changed, so that's all fine. Yeah, we added a new type of thing in. Then what we did is, added that in. I actually want to split that. I want to say yes to that and not to that because that's just white space. And yes. And then yes, this is the slow bit. So I'm not very happy about this because I think it's slowing down the game dramatically. doing this relative relationship check every time with your relationship closes. So I'm going to look at that in a minute. Low conversations, yes, that's fine. Yes, that's all fine. Yes, I'm going to split this, so I don't want that comment, but I do want that. I want the conversation stuff. I also want that cert in there, so I also want the data. Okay, so this is basic conversation predicates for greetings. Great. So that's built. I'm actually going to call it a day there. So thanks very much for watching, and hopefully see you next time. So next time, I'm hopefully going to have a lot more conversation code in there, and we should be in a position where you'll be able to see some quite interesting stuff that we're going to be doing with conversation.